Thanks for joining us. This is Live with the Miami East Community News, and I'm Michael Miller. Our guest today is Ed Silva, candidate for vice mayor in the Village of Palmetto Bay. Welcome back.
Good morning, Michael. Thank you for having me back. I want to let the residents know that the runoff is December 1st, so please make sure that you go out and vote.
Folks, I think this is really important that you listen to the candidate, and we'd like to actually listen to both candidates that are running. The other candidate has declined multiple offers, all right, to come here and do a debate, a conversation. And even though she says she was never invited, all right, I've read that on Facebook, posted by her, that's not the case. Some people calling on your behalf told us that you didn't want to do it, and I've seen it on Facebook repeatedly, so I'm glad that you're here so we can talk about some issues.
Yeah, I think the best thing that our residents can do is hear us both discussing the issues that we face as a community. I've asked for the debate. I know that she's got some prerequisites. One of them is, and sadly, is not that it won't be here on the Michael Miller Show or for the community newspapers. I don't think that bodes well for anybody to have prerequisites for any kind of debate, because at the end of the day, you're going to be, one of us will be sitting up in that council, and sometimes we will have to be facing some groups that may or may not agree with our stance, and we have to represent everybody, not just a select few.
Sometimes in elections, there's a lot of emotions that go into it. But in this race, this is an intellectual, should be an intellectual pursuit, which is who is the most qualified. Not who do you like, oh, I think they're really good, and this is why, because I know them from down the street, and I think they would be okay. There's enough evidence and enough facts to have a conversation. So let's, as far as background, for 8 years at the Village of Palmetto Bay, you were the community development official.
That's correct.
8 years. So who brought you in with that?
At that time, it was Manager Skur that brought me in to become the building official, which later morphed into the community development director. We were having issues. The village was having issues with the building department, and they wanted to bring in their own building official to oversee that department and analyze it and try to figure out what we could do with it. During my tenure as the building official and the community development director, we made that building department the #1 rated building department in Miami-Dade County, and I'm very, very proud of that. And that translates into a savings in your insurance policies.
So let's go. So, and then Skur brought you in, and you were there. Who were some of the people on the council that after during that election, during the 8 years you were there?
Ooh, when I first started work there, it was Mayor Flynn, and the vice mayor was Linda Robinson, and it was Paul Neidhart. Ooh, you're making me go down memory lane here. Paul
you got
Neidhart.
3 so far. That's pretty good.
It was Dr. Feller, and who am I missing? It may have been Shelley Stanzik at the time.
Those were really back then. Those days, there was a lot more joy back then than there is certainly now. So the elected officials rotated through, all right, and then so the last. Who were the last ones that were there on the council prior to you getting appointed as the manager?
Prior to my being the manager, at that time it was Mayor Stanzik, Councilwoman Lindsay, Patrick was there, Tim Schaefer was there, and Larissa Segalora.
So how did you get the job as the manager? How did that work to go from the community development official, the planning official, to becoming the manager?
Ironically, this is something that nobody's ever asked. Ironically, Mayor Stanzik was actually trying to get rid of the then manager Ron Williams, and actually was trying to do a vote of confidence, and she actually had some people approach to me to see if I was interested, and I said no at the time. That was way before it happened. She didn't go through with the vote. They never got rid of Ron Williams. Then he retired, and I was appointed the interim. And
who appointed you?
The council.
The council.
That council, absolutely.
The council
yes.
appointed you. Okay.
And then after that, they were looking at either going for a search firm, and at that meeting, the mayor decided to promote from within and make me the permanent manager.
And the mayor then was?
Mayor Flynn.
Okay.
And it was a unanimous vote. It was 5-0.
So five of the people on the council said, we think this guy over here has been with the city at that point 8 or 10 years, right, would be a good manager.
That's correct. And it was a good run. We increased the net worth of that village from $52 million to $60 million plus. We Added to our services, we added to our police department, we added to park security, we added parks. There's a couple of things that our village has always wanted to do. One was to acquire the Perrine Community House for us to
That's
be
a
able.
stone brick house?
That's that stone brick house. It's very historical.
When I was growing up, the community newspaper's office was at 900 Perrine Avenue,
There you
right
go.
next door. Right?
So I was able to negotiate that for the council, and we obtained that house. I think it's being underutilized, but there's a lot of potential there, and that could become a nice little community hub for all kinds of programming. So
I just want to walk through this. So you're there in the zoning and planning department, right, for 8 to 10 years?
that's correct.
And then you were appointed 5-0 to be the manager, all right?
That's correct.
And after 2 years, who was who was on the council after 2 years?
After 2 years, then it was mayor. It's the council that's here now. It's
The council that's there.
That's correct. Well, yeah. With the exception, we just had an election,
Yes.
but
So that the current council, excluding Steve Cody, for 3 years it was all right, and then you decided to leave.
toward the end of Mayor Cunningham's first year, she and I were not exactly seeing eye to eye on the vision. I thought there was some issues. She had doubts on many things that were happening. And she said it herself. It had nothing to do with my managerial style. It had nothing to do with what I had done as a manager. She wanted to take the village in another direction. The reason why I'm running is because that direction, in my opinion, is not a good direction. We're having serious, serious issues in that village right now with deficits, less services, morale issues, environmental issues, zoning issues, and the list is long. And
A lot of city managers last a couple of years. 3 years seems to be like a fairly decent stint. So you were there 5 years?
5 years.
And everything that you did, all right, as a manager, the council could, as a body, say stop or go.
Well, that's that's one of the funny things that's going on right now. They're trying to blame a lot of things on my tenure there as a manager. I can't do anything without a council approval. The council sets the policy. By charter, the council's the one that makes all those decisions. By charter, the manager's job is to implement that policy. If you don't like the policy, which is very ironic because they love to be able to point to a lot of the policy decisions as being wrong for the village, and I agree with you that they are wrong, but it has nothing to do with me as the village manager. It has everything to do with that sitting council and the votes that they took.
So a lot of people sort of miss that. They think, well, it's his fault. It's his fault. That's like, we know that it's wrong. All right, that the direction should be aimed at the people that are in charge, which are as a body, it's the majority of the 5 people there. So if somebody has a problem, all right, a resident, they need to go to the people that make those decisions. Hey, Tommy, when you get a chance, would you scroll up to the top so we can say hello to people? Oh, by the way, November 14th, this Saturday, there's the flea market. I'm sorry,
The farmers market.
the farmers market. Okay. David Singer, now former,
Well, he's still the council person until the 7th of December.
till December what?
December 7th.
Okay, so Councilman Singer says Leanne has done is stayed in her house there, and so the big question that Tommy poses again is that candidates really need to make a position and do it publicly, all right? Because the things that are about to go on, people should know ahead of time the thought process of those. No different than any of the other get-togethers, debates, whatever the decision is. Again, this is wide open. So if Leanne would like to debate, we can do it any day, 7 days a week, from 8 in the morning to 7 at night. You pick the day, we'll make sure. We can do it from our office here. There'll be 3 people. That'll be me and you. And
I think our residents deserve that debate. I think our residents deserve to see our demeanor. Our residents deserve to see what our visions are. Our residents, I am an independent voice. I am not affiliated with anybody. I have nobody that's sitting on that council that's helping me with my campaign like she has, and I believe that it's just the right thing for our residents to understand and to get all the misinformation that's being put out there by people in her camp out in the open and have a discussion on it so that our residents can decide which is the best course for this village.
One of the great things about democracy, people can speak up. Somebody had said, I think it was Leanne said, well, Michael Miller couldn't be fair. You're wrong, okay? I'm more than fair. And if you want to know, ask Maria Salazar, all right, who we did not endorse, that we supported her opponent when she sat right where you are, and she asked me, all right, repeatedly, I know that you like Shalala. I said, that's true. I said, but that's going to make me do a better job. And so it did, all right? So I'll do a better job, Leanne, because we endorsed Ed, all right? But that's going to make this thing all the much better in order to do that.
You can do it via Zoom, too.
Okay. Oh, we can do it by Zoom if you'd like to do that. All right. Be better here. But you want to do it by Zoom?
Getting it done. So
All right.
No excuses.
All right. So let's go back to what do you see as your role should you the voters decide to make you elect you as vice mayor?
Well, the very first thing that we need to do is stop all the divisive policies that we have in this community. We are having attacks by proxies that are continuing everywhere. I think my demeanor, and I'll use your word, my calm nature will help us be able to navigate through all this and make sure that we can heal this community. The second thing we need to do is we need to improve our transparency. There are things that we're just not hearing about, that they are simply doing them behind closed doors or trying to get away with the least amount of information out to the residents. Our residents don't understand that we will have gone through almost $3 million of our reserves by the end of this year. That doesn't bode well long term for this village. We can't even refinance our mortgage right now at historically all-time low mortgage rates.
So often in life we say, well, why didn't you tell me, whoever it is? Why didn't you just tell me up front? Why did you wait until the end? Because then you have the grief of hiding that. And speaking of that, I wanted to be open and transparent to people that have checked in here. Evan Crawford, Julie Dempsey, David Singer, Evan Crawford, Bob Bazzelli, Tommy, let's see, Joe Rodriguez, Rodney Barretto, hey Rodney, Jim Haas, I'm sorry, Robert Husted, Lisa Myers. All right, thanks for tuning in. So transparency is what government needs to be all the time. All right, we should be able to look in and be able to see everything that is going on. I did get a note, I think it was from the interim, soon to be retired city manager, who said the check registry is available. All right, okay, so that's certainly one thing that's there. Everything should be exposed so everyone can do that. What would, if you were elected, what are some of the things that you could try to convince your other council members to do to make things more transparent?
Well, at one time we actually did it. We had brought a resolution forward to make sure that all the meetings and all the committee meetings, all the task force meetings were televised. That helps because you have a record of what was said and how it was said and who said it. That's number one. Number two, I think we're having way too many meetings. We need to make sure that we can dial that back down so that the residents just don't get lost. I mean, they have everybody's working to make a living, and if you have meeting upon meeting upon meeting, you just lose interest, and that's not right for our residents. The check registrar, I'm glad I haven't checked recently to see if it's updated, but it was running 3 months behind. So if they brought it up to speed now, good. I'm glad. That's not something that we talked about here, and I'm glad that they listened in Village Hall and brought it up to speed.
I saw a newsletter. I forget who the publisher is. I want to make sure that I'm accurate with it, but it showed a lot of the candidates' money where they got it from. So, and that seems to be a sticking point with some people. All right. So a couple things we're going to get to yours in a second. Lisa Meyer says Leanne needs to explain her donations from developers in our downtown. All right. And so let's talk about your campaign contributions because people want to know.
My campaign contributions come from a myriad of sources. I've some of the misinformation that's out there is the percentages of money that supposedly is coming from developers, some of the residents that live in our community are either architects or they own a construction company, and they've given me money, but those are residents. Those, I mean, last time I checked, they live in our village and they have a right to express their voice. The developers that are not residents of the village are all people that I've known. I'm an architect by trade. They're people that have become my friends over my 35-year practice, and they have zero interest in investing now or in the future in Palmetto Bay, and I made that sure. There has been some allegations as to my political consultant, and his ties to one of the developers that's tied up in a $21 million lawsuit with the village right now. Before I hired my political consultant, I made sure that he resigned from lobbying for that firm. So I am trying to be as transparent as I possibly can and do the right thing. As a contrast, my opponent has taken money from just about every single council person on that dais right now. That doesn't smack to me of being an independent voice. That means that she's going to be beholden to most of the members of that council. She's taken money from a developer who just got a building approved that has a serious deficiency of parking, which will not do any good for our downtown area. But not only that, because that the claim could be made, well, that was already approved, so what's the point? The point is staff, and this all happened after I left as the manager. Staff recommended that they sponsor, i.e. pay for a bus to transport their patients to the general area and to the Metro Rail line. Council decided to make him only have to pay for 1/8 of it. I'm pretty sure if I were him, I would be pretty sure I'd be coming back to that village and saying, where's the 7/8 of this bus that this village is going to have to pay for? That's going to create a bigger burden on our already dire budget needs, and that's money that they're paying into my opponent's campaign. That's really special interest trying to buy their way in.
So is there a vendor that gave to a candidate's campaign that's trying that perhaps is looking to get a contract from the
That's the
village?
That's the other part of the money that my opponent has in her campaign contribution list. There is a vendor that does private providership for building departments, that they have given money to my opponent. That this is the same company that ran our building department before I was hired.
So they gave money to that campaign. A couple things. Candidates know when you disclose on your disclosure forms for your campaign contributions, everybody know that's public.
That's correct.
Right? And so you're not hiding anything, it's wide open. All right, so there was, somebody said, meetings are the only way for the public to see transparency on a council. He said, but why do you want less transparency and less communications? Well,
I absolutely think I said the opposite.
yes.
Stacy, I don't think that you're quite listening to what I said. I think we have to have more transparency. We have to televise our meetings. We have to make sure that the residents are afforded to understand everything that's going on in our village.
So as far as communication, the smallest part of which is impactful is that the meetings that take place it's every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks for the most part.
For the most part, it's we've unfortunately had them more than every 2 weeks,
Yes.
but it should theoretically there should be it should average about 2 to 3 meetings a month max.
So not only should that be made public, it should be made public in every social media platform that's available in the United States. All that stuff should go there, all right? Period. Should always be there for everybody to be able to do that. Let's see. Anyway, so she said.
She loves the banter.
Okay, so the last time we were here, we spoke about the 136th Street mega sidewalk. What is the current status of that?
There was supposed to have been here's a transparency thing. There was supposed to have been a meeting with the county and the residents of that street. It was supposed to have happened before the election. It didn't happen. I don't know if it's been re-advertised or if they're going to have that meeting now. That's basically up in the air because our village council has opted not to let the residents know what's going on.
Well, again, our position is everything should be wide open, all right? Everything, all right? So again, so let's look back. December 1st is the only day people can walk in and vote, right?
That is the only day that people can walk in and vote at their voting precincts. Yes,
Right.
the absentee ballots should be mailed out this week. So
And this, the people spoke up on the last election concerning the charter amendments. So, what were the couple of them passed? I've forgotten which ones. they were.
3 of the 7 did not pass. Those are the very first 3. One was single member districts that did not pass. The changing of the names from council members to commissioners did not pass, and the reduction of
For the schools.
for the schools from 75 to 65% did not pass either, and all the rest of
That's
them
a
passed.
tough day for the small schools.
Yes, it is.
So I was joking around with some council people, not in Palmetto Bay. I don't joke around with those people. So do I address you as council? As, I was a guy, councilman, council person, council member. So what's the proper term? We know with vice mayor, you just say vice mayor or mayor.
When I was a manager, I used to refer to them as council person or council members, but usually in my correspondence to them was council members.
So so then you don't have to worry whether it's male or female.
That's
Okay.
gender neutral.
All right, so that's it, gender neutral. So absentee mail by vote ballots are going out soon.
Absentee mail by votes ballots should be put into the mail probably today, and so everybody should be receiving those by the end of this week.
One of the great things that's happened, the nation's done with the big election. I think people's stress level has dropped down significantly. I think that can't we all get along, all right? And I think that's a little bit a calmer atmosphere. So this is a really good time for people to take a look at you and the other candidate, Leanne Tillman, say who's the best qualified for that. So tell us why people should vote for you.
Well, I will be an independent voice on that council. That I will be representing all our residents. I have the experience, which is not that's an important thing because we are facing some serious issues in our village. From a budgetary point of view, we are upside down in our budget. We're borrowing money from our reserves to balance that budget, and even after the first month, we've already broken our new budget by over $200,000. We cannot continue going that way because we will turn into Biscayne Park, which very high millage rates eventually. I know I'm exaggerating it a little bit, but we've increased utility fees, we've increased stormwater fees, we now have increased our property tax rates, and we're still upside down. There was a movement afoot to reduce police and reduce park safety. Now, they put it back into the budget, but I am pretty sure that there will be looking at those things again in the future. We cannot have that happen. We have to restore our maintenance in our parks. We have to protect our environment. We have I've spoken about the 22-acre parcel at the old Burger King headquarters that I think we should be trying to partner up and buy. But as manager, I was able to get a 9.8-acre piece of land across from Perrine Elementary School on 168th Street from the county. The county was going to sell it as surplus land for developers, and that would have been more housing in that area. I went to the county. We worked out a lease that for the next 50 years, we control that park, provided that we lived up to our side of the bargain. We haven't. And our side of the bargain is simple. Remove the invasive trees and replace them with native trees. Very simple to do, very easy to do. And start making that turn into a passive park with a walking path. We haven't done anything, not in the budget. At any moment, the county can come and knock on our doors and take that away from us. And that would be very bad for those neighbors in that area. These are the type of promises that we as a village have to keep to our residents, and we're not doing that.
So let's talk about transportation. And I know it's lots of people, especially in Palmetto Bay, are really upset about it, and the people south are more upset about how to move traffic. Sooner or later, probably a lot sooner than later, the traffic will return to pretty much what it was before, maybe a little bit less, and people still have to be able to get from south to north. What experience do you have in that, in negotiating something between the other cities and the county so that everybody can be, as the saying goes, a little unhappy, but okay?
You know, I had a meeting, and you're saying a little unhappy. I had a meeting with a substantial group of my my supporters, and that was one of the testimonies, and from Michael Biamonte about the Palmer Trinity lawsuit, which was an issue in our village for many years, and we had an $800,000 judgment against us, which I was able to negotiate away. And his point was, you know, that we had a good negotiation when we both went away a little bit unhappy, but actually the village won on that. We didn't have to pay a single penny of those $800,000, and that's a huge win for our village. Now, transportation. I was part of that South Day coalition where we were meeting regularly to try to get Metro Rail extended down to Homestead. And
What year is that, more or less?
4 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
And we made very good contacts with our sister cities where we actually all got along. We actually all were working for the same common good. And to the point that we were actually even thinking about doing events together. Now, move it forward to where we are today. You have the city to our south that's actually not very happy with us at this moment, and the city to our north that was making fun of us in a council meeting because of our ineptness in the mega sidewalk on 136th Street.
I really would have liked to have been a fly in the wall when that fell apart, that whole coalition. People still don't want to talk about it, but it's very emotional. I can see that, and because we've spoken to people south, and nobody really wants to talk about it, right? But it certainly is there. So at some point, the county, the cities have to figure out how to move the people, and it's concerning bridging, I guess. And I don't know enough about it. But
Well, there's more than one. To resolve the traffic issues is just more than just one item. You know, we need to accelerate what I started in those coalition meetings on Old Cutler Road and make sure that we can get that road taken care
How
of.
many years' experience do you have in dealing with other agencies concerning road work and budgets and things like that?
Oof. My whole time there, 13 years there and 5 years at the Village of Pinecrest.
So if the council so chose, you might be able to be on that committee to have that conversation about how to move the transportation issue and move traffic so that everybody's a little bit okay.
Once I'm elected and if the council decides to have me to be the lead person, I'll be more than glad to do so. It's going to take us relying on the transportation engineers and the planners to ensure that we do the right thing and take politics out of it. That's the way to get it resolved, is let the professionals handle it. We have a history in our village of hiring professionals, not liking what they say, and just throwing away that taxpayer money. That's got to stop, because I would imagine we've probably thrown away at least $1.5 million to $2 million on studies that have just meant nothing to the elected officials.
Okay, we have somebody that wrote in. I guess the question was concerning.
It's about the budget, where to cut.
Yeah. Lisa Meyer says. So I guess there was some conversation about where the city might be able to save money. She says, get rid of. That's what she was saying.
Yeah, the freebie. The freebie was a grant that was attained. It was a 50-50 match, so it's $250,000 from the TPO and $250,000 annually from the village. I don't quite understand why that freebie is still in service right now. It's not helping in this COVID era, because when you're on that freebie, you can only take one person at a time. So it's not exactly reducing traffic, and then they have to go and clean the freebie before it goes back out.
So how many passengers is that?
It's one at a time.
I mean, the vehicle.
Oh, it could fit. I think it can fit about 6, including the driver. but it's not working the way it's intended to work. And I mean, it should have at least been stopped during the COVID period and save that money. Save that money when we're actually having a deficit. That money could have been used for so many other issues, or just to cover up our deficit, and it hasn't been done.
So the new city manager, who was in military for many years.
Welcome aboard.
Yes, he's going to be on site. When is that, more or less?
I believe he started. Well, I don't know if they were open yesterday because of the tropical storm, but I believe yesterday was his first day.
We wish him lots of good luck, and I hope that you can help right that ship that's down there. Again, that anything that you did as city manager, or you had your instructions from the council.
Anything that any village manager does in a council manager form of government, that policy is done by the council, not by the manager. Our job is to make sure that we implement it and make it happen. And our job is to be a cheerleader for whatever that council votes on, period. If you have an issue with it, if you're not happy with the way it's going, then you have a choice, like I did, and I resigned and walked away.
So one of the things that we recognize is that if the United States government was all one party, in the House and Senate and the presidency, there would be some people that'd be happy, but democracy, all right, and a fairness is not there. If everybody on that council is yesing each other, that's not what we're looking for. What we're looking for is somebody to say, hey, what about this and what about that, and have a real open and debate conversation about it, so that everything can be brought out. So some people had said, oh, well, David this and David that. Well, David's not there anymore, all right? He'll be there another week or two, all right? And I always looked at him, somebody that would ask that tough question, all right? Being with all your experience, that you're able to bring up some of those tough questions. So how would, if you were up there, tell me about that conversation that would take place if another council member says, I want to see this and that. How would you communicate with them?
Well, I will say this, Michael, diversity is key to democracy. If you don't have it, you don't have democracy, so you cannot have 5 like-minded people up there, because then you are shutting out a portion of your village. My conversations will be like the ones I'm having right now with you. It'll be very civil, very calm and measured. It'll be based on fact, and it'll be based on vision. And the real deficit that we have in our council right now is we don't have a vision. Our mayor ran on trying to do a strategic plan that we would be able to pursue. Another one of those plans that we spent money on, and it's just sitting there gathering dust because it's not even being used. It's not even being utilized. If you don't have a vision, if you don't have a common goal which can be reached, if you don't include the residents in trying to make that common goal, you have nothing. You have what we have right now, which is basically going from fire drill to fire drill to fire drill. And when somebody brings something up that they haven't done, oops, let's go back and try to get this covered up. So
well, COVID is still, it's still there. It looks like there's going to be a partial solution to that relatively soon. Once when we have guests in the building, take the temperature, wash your hands. There's some glass between us, and we're all tagged over here. Ed, we got 2 minutes left before we wrap it up. Susan Ashley says hello, and hello to you, Susan. As people get ready to vote for their chosen candidate, what would you like them to know about you?
I want them to know that I love our village. I've dedicated my life. I took a step away from private practice to give to our village. I believe that there's still more work to be done. I believe that we have a lot of things that we have to fix in our community to ensure that we continue to improve our quality of life. We have to stop the divisiveness in our village. We have to stop the accusations like you're seeing on the scroll of some of these comments here, and the misrepresentation of some of the things that we're trying to say and what we're trying to do. We are a one community, one Palmetto Bay, and we have the ability right now to be able to elect either a person that's just going to continue with the status quo, the country club friend outlook, or we can have and look at this as what it really is, which is a business that has a $15 million budget, and run it the right way, and run it so that our residents can be proud of the fact that we have a government that's really working on all cylinders in the Village of Palmetto Bay.
And thank you very much for that. I wanted to send a message again to Leanne. If you don't want to do a debate with us here in the building, we could do it by Zoom, or perhaps a citizen in Palmetto Bay could put on a debate. Somebody do a debate. Somebody, you guys are smart enough, you know how to do it, all right? So I hope that you do that. Again, our guest today is Ed Silva, candidate for Vice Mayor in the Village of Palmetto Bay. And I want to thank you for joining us again. This is Live with Miami's Community News. Tommy, thank you so much. Folks, have a great day.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.